ready to hear me now?
Yeah, I've got three matters here. There's my ID. I'm an Australian lawyer, and I've got two crimes to report, and also a very important 6-page letter, which is 70 whistleblowers from the New South Wales Police blowing the whistle on the fraud behind the COVID pandemic, and in particular trying to seek other police to join their whistleblower group. They're saying here that many members of the force are fed up with the approach to enforce oppressive rules placed upon the population in the name of COVID. And this is going to be Senior Constable at Senior Constable, I'll give you the name. Senior Constable Alexander Cooney, Coffs Clarence Highway Patrol. This is very, very serious. It's just come out. New South Wales Police Force. So he's written this letter, whistleblower, to Michael Fuller, Police Commissioner of New South Wales. I'm just cutting to the punchline because I know you're busy. Police force employees should have a choice as to whether or not to receive vaccines. The police believe that all members of the community also have choice around receiving vaccines. Police do not participate in any way in the forcing of vaccines upon the population, which we all know the Prime Minister said is going to make it as mandatory as possible. Police associations start preparing to defend police employees who choose not to be vaccinated and to raise the alarm. Now, this is from the police. This is 70 police have apparently signed this. To raise the alarm, there's a global dictatorship occurring. This isn't me as a conspiracy theorist, because I know it's fact, but they're saying a global dictatorship occurring, and the police force is being used as a tool to push these global and corporate agendas upon the population. And finally, to warn the police force not to simply acquiesce to these requests, rules and laws, and to act in the best interests of its population, not tyranny of government. So that's the guts of it, but I'd like you to actually take a copy of that, and there's a reference to where you can find it on a website.
Do you want me to make a copy?
No, you can have that one. And then, I mean, at some point I will write to the Commission, other people will, to see if they'd circulate it to all of you. Now, the crimes I'd like to report, and I don't know whether you've got a written form I could sign here. The main crime, well, actually two main crimes. One is so just on that document there, I'm hoping there'd be Victorian police that read that, get in touch with the constable, get access to all the material, and it may be that some members of the Victorian Police would want to go whistleblower, and I can tell you that there is protection from whistleblowers under the Public Interest Disclosure Act in Victoria, so your legal team will talk to you about that. But there is protection for anyone in Victoria that also wants to whistleblow if they think this is getting out of hand, because what happened on the weekend was not good. The public didn't like what happened, and we're trying to work with the police. I've been trying to work with the police. We want you to be working with us, not for a global dictatorship. So I'm doing this seriously, I'm telling you, mate, from my heart, that we want you guys to understand what's going on behind the scenes, because we've done all the homework and we're alarmed with what's about to happen with this new transhuman vaccine. Now, the second crime, there's a crime, well, that's a crime in there. He's saying there's a global dictatorship conspiracy, so that's the biggest conspiracy in history. This is the Rainmaking Control Act 1967. Not a lot of people realise this is still in the books of Parliament House. I got alerted to it because farmers in the Wimmera were actually paying someone to actually change the weather. And I thought, that can't be right, there must be some legislation. And I found this act, and it's been in force since 1967. And I've done an FOI, I got the answer last week, and they've got no documents. They've wiped the entire archives of this act. So if somebody's nervous that the climate change that the government's been doing, they don't want the public to get the records. So this is one of the biggest thefts ever in a public service, okay? And I will go to the Auditor General, but I want to report it as a crime because I've just got the FOI back. And I mean, it's hard to believe. Most people don't believe this is a law, and most people don't believe that you can change the clouds. But I'm telling you, 1967, you can imagine how much has changed in technology. There's Section 8, which is cloud seeding in Victoria to induce rainfall in another state. At the request of the Minister of, say, New South Wales or South Australia, the Victorian Minister may authorise rain-making operations to be carried out in Victoria to promote rainfall in an adjoining state. I mean, why aren't we doing that in droughts? And then Section 12 says no liability in respect of authorised operations, right? And you can get off if the Minister gives you a certificate in relation to doctoring the weather and any loss or damage caused by or arising out of the precipitation of rain, hail, sleet, snow, ice, fog or mist in consequence of the rain-making operation. So why did they wipe the entire public service records when I started putting this around when I found it a year ago? So you can hang on to that copy, and I want to report the theft of all the archives, the Victorian Department of Ministers, Department of Agriculture, okay? So if you can give me some advice at the end about how I do that one. The final one, and I know you're busy, this one is probably the underlying reason they're able to do the condemic. The reason that it's a con is because they've used the flu stats to doctor the COVID. That's what I suspected all along. Luckily for us, like we the people, this is a government document. I've taken this directly from the Department of Health, Australian government, Greg Hunt, the responsible minister. I know Greg very well. Ring Greg and he'll tell you, oh, bloody hell, what are you doing now? Australian Influenza Surveillance Report comes out every fortnight since April. This was the number 8 one in July. They're up to number 13. This is in every single one of them, right? It's important to note that due to COVID epidemic, data reported from the various influenza surveillance systems may not represent an accurate reflection of influenza activity. Results should be treated with caution, especially when trying to compare to other seasons. But mate, they've absolutely just destroyed the flu stats completely. There's 5 charts out of the 13 I've highlighted, which show this one's on. This is figure 5. The tests that positive for influenza plunged to 0 once the COVID thing happened. The hospitalisations are the same. This one's the influenza test numbers rise, but the positives plunged to 0, so all the testing went up, but it just disappeared, like nothing. Like none testing positive for flu? How can it be when they've got exactly the same symptoms? The third one is figure 7. Why have influenza hospitalisations, flatlined since COVID? Right? Look at the flat line there, like that's a joke. That's hospitalisations. And I can tell you there's only been 3 over 65 admitted to hospital with a flu this year, which is just a joke, and none of them in CPU. And this final one, why influenza hospitalisations plunge in winter, that's just the step-by-step one. So there's nothing in June, July, August, you know. So
this winter?
This is all, you can have that one. So this is, I want to report the fact they've admitted it. I mean, they have admitted they're not surveilling the flu, and I say they've covered this up. This is a massive conspiracy. There's 19 hospitals involved. This is all in this document here, right, the bigger one. 19 hospitals called Sentinel hospitals. We've got 3 in Victoria. I've walked into all 3. We've got Royal Melbourne, we've got Alfred, and we've got the Monash. Now, I walked into the Monash. The other 2 just ignored my questions, wouldn't talk. I spoke to the doctor at Monash. She admitted, very nice doctor, you take the swab for COVID. Like if you've got influenza-like symptoms, exactly the same as COVID, they've got the same 9 symptoms. If you do the swab for COVID, they only do 1 swab at Monash, is what she told me, and you can test in the laboratory for flu and COVID from the 1 swab. So why aren't they testing this year for the influenza? Because 70 policemen have outed them, same as we've been outing them. They're just using the flu and getting away with it, okay? And that's what's happening in this second wave overseas as well, you'll find. But so I want to report to the Department of Health for failing to survey the flu, which is a very important problem because they told you, did you get a flu vaccine?
Did I get one?
Did you get one this year?
Like we have private.
Yeah. Did you get one? I didn't get one. I've never had one. But a lot of police, I've been asking police, and not everyone's been getting them, but that law, they're supposed to survey what's happening to the population after people get the flu shot. I mean, they're saying flu's a deadly disease, and then they want everyone to have it. They made all the health workers have it on the front line, and then they're not surveilling the side effects from flu. That's against the law. I mean, there's a whole lot of Acts that breaches, including the TGA Act. I could go through Act after Act. And all the doctors should be reported to ARPA and lose it.
Yeah. I'm just going live reporting some crimes to the police. Peter Little on Facebook. One of the things also, we're doing 2 things. We're reporting crimes about the flu being covered up this year. The government's admitted they're not doing the flu stats, okay? And secondly, I'm reporting the Rainmaking Control Act, which I've got in here, where since 1967, we've had an Act of Parliament allowing the Victorian government to change the weather by cloud seeding. And I've done an FOI and they said they've got no archives since 1967. Someone's stolen all the documents, but we've been highlighting that climate change is not only happening naturally, it's been happening by government alone, okay? Now the third thing is we're recruiting. This has just come out. This is cops.
Sorry, I need to go. So what do you want
Well,
to give me something and I can read it?
yeah.
What's going on?
Okay, this is the whistleblowers from New South Wales cops called Cops for COVID Truth.
Yep.
70 whistleblowers have had enough about the lies with COVID.
Yep.
They don't want to do the oppressive stuff that you guys cover when people go out and protest and these cops are forced to do the orders. Yep. 70 have come out. I'm going to try and recruit Victorian police as well to be whistleblowers and stand up for the lies that have been identified by the police. So this is a 6-page document. This is the police. This isn't conspiracy theories. This is orchestrated by Alexander Cooney, Senior Constable from the Coffs Clarence Highway Patrol, New South Wales Police Force, Grafton Police Station. Okay, he's got 70 other signatories, we believe, and he's gone into all the science and he's given this to the New South Wales Police Commission of New South Wales. This is a bombshell, okay? This is a bombshell when everyone in Victoria has been absolutely massacred in the longest lockdown ever in world history. So I'll leave this one with you. I'll make sure, have you got a card?
Truth Seeker News, where we go one, we go all.